Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm speaking with George Jano. He has just released a fantastic new EP called Under the Sun Volume 1, and I'm super excited to talk to him all about it. George, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy life to do this. How are you doing today?
Hey, Austin. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. Thank you. Yeah.
You're very welcome. Where in the world are you?
I am in Northeast Baltimore, Maryland.
What
Yeah.
is going on in that corner of the world right now?
Today, snow.
Cold? Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
it's probably pretty cold.
yeah, wet ice and snow mostly. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, I'm in Los Angeles where Super Bowl is happening today, so I'm not leaving
Oh yeah.
for fear of getting stuck in hours long traffic. So
Right.
I'm
Well,
gonna stay
that's like
inside.
a normal thing in Los Angeles, right? Does that keep you inside every
Yeah,
day, or
pretty
yeah,
much, pretty much. If I have
yeah,
nowhere to be, I'm not going out for fun and just sitting in it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Cool,
Obviously,
man.
I didn't bring you on to talk about traffic and the weather. I do want to talk about this record. It is seriously
Yeah.
fantastic. And I'd love for
Thanks.
you to kind of kick it off and tell me what it's all about. If there's sort of
Hmm.
an overarching message, or if it's individual stories, or how you kind of constructed it.
So to I guess talk about volume one, because Under the Sun is going to be three volumes altogether, 5 songs apiece,
Cool.
and probably released in those chunks, like EPs, as opposed
Sure.
to teasing it out with singles or anything like that. And so Under the Sun volume one, if I had to give, not dive too much into each individual song, but assign like
Sure. Sure.
one word to each volume. Topic. I think volume one deals with heartbreak. Volume two is coming of age, and volume three is adversity. That's what I would say is the maybe volume three might change a little bit. That might change later on, but volume one,
Sure.
within those 5 songs, especially the last three, is your love and your heartbreak songs, and so that's what I think exists mostly on volume one.
Nice. How long did it take you to put this thing together?
And geez, so because I started this back in Good for You was released in 2018, and then this got
Wow.
started in went to contract for it in like March of 2019, and got into the studio, and then just hit a bunch of bumps in the road. And then when lockdown happened, we had like volume one was pretty much all, the exception of some other parts. I went through a change of personnel that were on the album originally that I just kind of needed to revamp the way things were done.
Sure.
Started to do some of the instrumentation myself, and redo it. And so, anyhow, it was released in 2021, so November. So it took a long time.
Yeah.
Uh, but a lot of hurdles that a lot of people went through, of course, with lockdown and stuff like
Sure.
that. We just couldn't get people back into the studio reasonably and safely. So,
Well,
yeah,
did you have the
that's
thought? Did you have the thought to do these three separate volumes before you like embarked on the volume one? Or
no, no. It was a thing where it was like, hey,
okay,
volume one is done. These are done. Let's push these out. Let's not,
sure,
and that like, hey, this kind of works. It's kind of, if we if I thought about the sequencing, in a different way, and then my whole plan on it. So like it's 15 tracks total.
sure,
I don't see the point of physically printing a CD with 5 songs on it,
uh,
and so I'm waiting till all of the volumes are released to actually print the physical. I think it's a
smart.
waste of CD space
I
to do
agree.
that. Just not environmentally conscious and stuff. Because I have no idea where these CDs are ending up. They're getting jammed in car CD players or ending up in the ocean or whatever.
Right.
So
And the
I wanted
fact that these factories are backed up like years at this point, trying to put out CDs and vinyl and
right, yeah,
all. But yeah,
yeah,
besides that,
yeah. So breaking it up into yeah, you're right. Or sorry, you asked about was it decided ahead of time? No, that was I originally wanted to go for a 15 track album, and set my sights on high
okay.
goal, and then that just rolled with the punches. So
Well, so the new hope is that it doesn't take 3 years for the second volume to come out. Or
oh
were you
no,
writing these in advance and recording them sporadically?
writing wise, everything's pretty much done.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So that's writing wise, everything's pretty much done. So now it's the part that I don't like, which is the really just
Sure.
the self criticism and just the listening with a critical ear, constantly,
Yeah.
and so and the tracking, all that's fun, and
Yeah.
experimenting with it and everything. But in the ways of the writing of the albums, like I have dry erase book here that has all the track listing of everything.
Sure.
Volume two is pretty much, it'll be released by the summer of this year, and as long as it's not rushed a little bit. But three of those five tracks are already completely done, and then there's two more that just kind of need some final touches to them. So,
That's awesome.
um,
So, like,
yeah,
as far as like I guess like the production and the instrumentation, is this 100% you, or did you have help
no,
in putting it all?
um,
Yeah,
so it's not 100% me. And yeah, it's like 90% me. I had
basically you.
Yeah, yeah. On volume one, I had a keyboardist named Olavi Takala, a very talented keyboardist, join for three songs. He was in the band prior to lockdown and stuff, which we haven't like picked back up in the ways of doing a ton of full
Sure.
band shows. And had the intention of him recording on all the stuff originally. And so he recorded on Sticks and Stones, You Would, and Bounce. It's tracks two, three, and four of volume one. And he did the keys work on that. And then a very talented drummer, one of my most favorite drummers that I played with, he just fits my pocket perfectly, is Jordan Weicker. He played drums on all those five tracks
Nice.
and is going to be on volume two as well. Um, and then so all the keys, the bass, guitar, harmonica, all the vocal work, all that stuff is me, and production as well. He has a producer, which I will admittedly say I'm somewhat of an amateur producer. I don't get too cinematic or
Sure.
as production tools that are on the computer aren't not necessarily the tools of my trade. I'm more of a composer and songwriter.
Totally
Realized that
understand.
through the process, but I'm the sole producer on it. And then we had Kenny Kingsborough at Harbor Red Studios. He did the mixing and the mastering of the volume one and volume two. And so yeah,
Nice. To be honest, I don't like speaking from a production standpoint. I think anything more would have taken away from like the ease of listening. Like one of the
Hmm.
things that I enjoy the most about this record is that you could pop it on and kind of zone out and just like let the music flow through you. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but like it's not, no, it's not too intense. It doesn't create anxiety. It's just like a nice easy listening record.
Yeah,
And any stupid production gimmicks that are out there and frequently used, yeah, I just feel like they would take away from like the calmness and the relaxation that this EP emits. So
yeah, totally. I used to justify my lack of production skills or that decision to not be over produced, with being like a what some would call like a purist or like a kind of like a traditionalist with music, and just trying to keep things very natural,
yeah,
with the sound. I would like to take things, maybe a couple degrees further with
sure.
production, um, but not going too far with. My whole goal with this is not, especially with instrumentation as well, is to not record anything that can't be reproduced on stage. You
I
know,
totally understand.
so.
Do you think that you're going to I mean, it sounds like you're going to experiment, but like go a little more off the deep end in regards to that.
So with I think with like effects and stuff like that on guitar, I think I'll expand a little bit more on that. Harmonica, as much as I would love to do, try to find, experiment and try to find cool things to do with that. It's one of those things where I play, with a holder, so I don't have like the nice microphones that I can hold with my hands and whatnot, and do things along those lines. And so, again, like it goes back to can I reasonably reproduce it on stage, without tons of technical difficulties, and stuff like
See,
that.
that's
And so
that's the
yeah,
hardest part. Is like you want to get out there on stage and you want to do it, but the
right,
crazier you take it in the recording studio, the more you're like, shit. Like now I gotta get like 10 guys to back me up to try to make this sound like
yeah,
it's kind of that fine line of what do I do and without
yep.
taking it too far. Are you playing shows at this point?
So yeah, I have one in like 2 weeks. Another really talented local songwriter named Ariella Joy, here in 2 weeks. It's going to be mostly solo gigs, or like collaborative, like duo gigs, along those lines. Still, I think volume 2 is done, and that's when full band stuff will pick up more.
Very cool.
Yeah, just with like the winter, and like the indoor shows right now, and the way
Yeah.
COVID restrictions have been, going up and down and stuff like that. It's just,
Yep.
it's I probably shouldn't take it as much on myself, but I feel guilty when I get somebody, I get somebody to commit to a date and then COVID, I have to cancel it because of COVID.
Right.
Even though it's not my fault, it's like, I'd much rather book solo shows and be let down myself instead of having to let down others. And
That's the
so I think,
saddest thing I've ever heard.
I
But
know, yeah,
it's
I know,
true. But it's
yeah,
true, and it sucks. It's like,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
totally,
also less work. I mean,
yeah,
listen, as much as you want to put together like these grand shows and really like get that sound down to a T, yeah, the more people you hook in, there's a lot of disappointment on the line there, and
right.
get it,
Yeah,
get it.
totally. Yeah, so I'm just waiting for like the outdoor stages to be going, and
Sure.
2 to be done, and yeah, just pushing that whole thing. And so
Sure.
yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So, like, in terms of sound, obviously this is like an Americana-esque. I won't say like country, but just like an easy breezy listening.
Hmm.
Did you craft this sound based off the music that you like, or did you feel that the message of the music kind of directed where you wanted to go with it?
So I think I very much am product of the music that I like.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I have to make it. I actually feel like I have to make an effort to, especially when I'm in a writing mode, to not listen to the music that I like so much because I'm afraid of getting jingles stuck in my head that
Yeah.
will make me throw away songs quickly. And so, but I'm very much within the genres that I do enjoy the most. Which is Americana, blues, folk, you know, indie rock,
Totally.
and things along those lines. So. Um, yeah, I would say so.
Nice. And so
Yeah.
throughout this entire process, from like the thinking about what you're going to write about to like basically being finished with it, was there something that came up that surprised you the most?
With the writing,
Literally anything. Just like,
hmm,
damn, like
hmm.
I'm putting a record together. That's not something that normal people do in their lives.
Oh, right.
Like,
Well, I'll tell you. What always surprises me. I think the most is um, the way that like I'll think that, like, for instance, I'll take "Last Call" for instance. The song "Last Call," which
sure.
is the 5th track on this, and that sometimes I get surprised. Sometimes I feel like there's a line that I need to finish, rewrite, or whatever. But then, I'll tell myself that there's something the song might need, and then keep that in the back of my mind. And then someday, some night, it'll come to me, and then the song will get changed. And something that I couldn't have seen months in advance when writing it fit perfectly, came at the perfect timing, and was like, hey, this is going to happen. So, like, there's a time change that happens, later in the song "Last Call," which takes you away from the original song, brings you back, at the end.
Okay.
And it's the first time I've ever done anything like that in a song.
Sure.
And that wasn't contrived. It wasn't something I was like, hey, I'm looking to do this kind of thing, and I'm going to apply this to this song. It wasn't that formulaic. It was like, hey, universe, I need something to make this song a little bit better. Like, let's
Totally.
open up to this. And that came later and very close to the recording process. And I just rolled with it. And now I feel like it's a centerpiece of the song. Another thing too was, so like I wasn't a harmonica player for as long as I played like guitar
Sure.
and wrote some of these songs. I wrote all the these songs without having a harmonica on them, and now for like a song like "Bounce," I couldn't imagine the song ever without it. And so um, and and that was the first song that I ever had like my first harmonica solo on, and I felt such like not full blown like imposter syndrome, but I wouldn't call myself a harmonica player for years, and it
Okay.
probably took me hearing the recordings that I did for me to be like, hey, you're a harmonica player now. Like, this is
That's
part of
it.
what you do.
Believe it or
And
not, you put
yeah,
in the work at the time.
yeah,
That's
just took
awesome.
two records for me to be able to say that. So
Yeah, no
you
big
know,
deal.
but yeah,
Uh,
that was surprising. Yeah.
if you had to recommend someone to listen to one song of this record to really get hooked in, which one do you think it would be? I know that's tough because they're all kind of your babies, and there's
Yeah,
not even
yeah,
that many songs to pick from.
right. and that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't pick a single off this one and say, I was like, hey,
Smart.
I'm just gonna, yeah, I was like, I can't decide, and
No.
you
But
know,
now you have to decide.
yeah, Hmm. Okay, and the one to hook them the most,
Yeah. And I don't think there's no right answer, but there's also no wrong answer because they all kind of create their own little worlds of sound and like
yeah,
there are their own stories.
hmm. My initial, I would want to say bounce, but I honestly, um, I think just from the response that I've already gotten from people who've heard it, it's You Would,
Yeah.
which is, short and sweet. It's probably the most minimalist song that I've ever written,
Sure.
where I didn't overwrite it lyrically, uh, or try to be too show offy with the guitar solos or anything like that. And so,
I understand.
um, I think You Would is the one to go for
Okay.
right in the middle. So
Well, if you're watching or you're listening, start there. Also, as I just say, any record, any album, people don't realize the amount of thought that goes into the track listing. So just start
mm,
from the beginning, let it
right,
run through. Um,
yeah.
nice. So yeah, man. I mean, we're basically still at the beginning of the year here. I want you to put yourself in your shoes of George, February 13th, 2023. What are some things that you'd hopefully like to accomplish, or just like some lofty goals that you've set for yourself?
I think that is where this time next year is when Volume 3 will be. I'll be back on here talking to you probably about Volume 3, and
Volume
that's
three. Okay, so that's yeah.
yeah,
I didn't really want to ask about like the timelines because I don't want to rush you in terms of.
yeah,
But you hope
no,
to be
so
done with this trilogy by the end of next year, or the
yeah,
end,
unless
end of this year, next year.
right, yeah, it's unless there's some other kind of crazy, series of world events that happen that
Don't
set us
even
back.
put that out into the world
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. No, no.
My goal is to have everything ready to be in the later stages of post production with Volume 3, and yeah, just getting things out there in that regard. So I think
Yeah, man.
Volume 3 is respectively a winter release, and it has to be.
Sure.
And Volume 2 was a proper spring summer release, or is going to be. So yeah, volume 3, and that'll all be, yeah, that's where I want to be done, because I got stuff coming to me now writing wise that like I've been, just because we started this back in 2019, like I'm ready to
Yeah.
be done with it, like that's
Sure.
and this is just the part that I like the least, where I have to listen to myself 1,000 times over.
I understand.
Yeah,
I
so
see. I don't think it matters if you're the one making music or just casually listening to music. Like you listen to something enough, no matter how much you initially loved it, you're gonna get burnt out on it. And like I
yeah,
think that's with artists all over the world. It's just like imagine going on tour and singing the same song for the rest of your life. Like you got to fake that happiness eventually, but you
right.
keep going and yeah. Well, are you the type of artist that's always working towards the next thing? Like, are you always writing down or even taking voice notes or writing down
Mhm.
lyrics that pop in your head, or how does it work
Yeah,
on that end?
I mean, with I definitely, especially when it comes to writing,
Sure.
like if I get the spark for something, everything else shuts off. Like the other night, I wrote a song, start to finish, sitting down. They don't all come together like that, and when I'm in the moment of that, I try to not acknowledge it. I just try to sit down and do it. And so yeah, with writing, I am trying to always work towards the next thing. I don't like to abandon things. I like things to be finished.
I
Um,
understand.
yeah, totally. And that, like, I don't like to, but that'll prevent me from writing if I feel like I'm abandoning something else. But also creating some space and being like, I need to go get, sometimes the blockage that you're finding, or the roadblocks you're hitting with one song, is because you're not taking the time to allow yourself to let the other stuff come out of you. It's literal, like maybe actual emotional blockages
Totally.
that you need to kind of release these other things that are coming to you, so you can find the right touch to put on this. And so yeah, I am always working towards the next thing. Yeah, I probably have half of the next album written. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have hundreds of songs written, because I'm too self-critical to be like, these are completed songs, because I know the process now to be like, this
You
is,
don't have to.
yeah, yeah. And so but yeah, I'd say I'm definitely moving on to the next thing, or
Oh
always
yeah,
ready
man.
to. Yeah.
Very cool. So, sort of on the flip side of that, Taking music out of the equation, are you working on yourself as a person for this year, or some of the things that you're, just like mental health, and I want to
Oh
run a
yeah,
marathon, or just anything like that that you're working towards?
not running a marathon.
Things
I'm
along
not.
those
I've
lines.
never been a marathon runner. I do.
Same.
I've always wondered about somebody who can get through the wall that I hit at like a mile or two.
Yeah, I'm good for a mile,
Yeah,
maybe.
but marathons, like I don't know how they do it. But so you know, freeing myself of the things that control me. So anything that's like addictive or potentially addictive.
Sure.
The things that take us away from. What some refer to as the dark arts. The things that really distract us from the things that are most
Sure.
important and the goals that we want. And yeah, I mean, emotional growth and self improvement have always been at the forefront, or have been at least for the last 5 or so years, 6 or so years for me. And my mental health is not perfect. I'm not going to get too preachy and be like I have all the answers for
Uh,
for mental health.
don't have
But
to, but I understand.
yeah, and awareness of it is important. I think for me, the most toxic thing that I do for myself. It comes from this whole artistic thing and this perfectionism thing. That it's like when you spend a lot of your time and you're doing this self, you're doing most of the work and you're playing all the parts, and you're listening to yourself constantly with a critical ear. You're not being your own yes man. You're not patting yourself on the back, and so it
Sure.
becomes this. It transcends into this self love deficiency that you're not allowing yourself to be good enough because you think that something can be better, and that like it's hard. I
Yeah.
don't know have the exact way to turn that off. Some days where it's like, hey, I need to be able to hear myself without a critical ear, or look at myself at all without this critical from this critical scope. And so learning how to manage that, and I think maybe that
Yeah.
comes from allowing more people in on the work, you know what I mean? And like having other people in that also aren't going to just be like, yes, men, yes, women, that just, have some stake in it themselves, and kind of like disperse,
Totally.
the criticism and also the patting on the back. I'm a lot better at patting on others on the back
Totally.
for their contributions than I am patting myself on the back for my own work. And so,
Well, yeah, man, there's a
yeah, that's what
crazy
I'm working on.
pressure when you're the name that's attached to the music. If you're
Mm.
part of a band, it's like, you can't necessarily hide if you're in a live performance, but like, how many people know the bassist from a mid-level band? Like, they don't know their name. You can hide.
Yeah,
This is George Jano music. There's no hiding. Like, you're on the
right.
line for everything that people hear, and if they don't like it and they're super critical, they can be very negative straight to your face. And I think
Yeah,
that's kind of where the lack of pat on the backs can come from. So
yeah, totally,
I feel you,
for
man.
sure. Mm.
Um, I have one more question for you.
So,
Basically, the question is for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for the person that is going to listen to your music for the first time, what is an opening message that you'd like to say to them?
mm. um, well, an opening message to somebody who's going to discover my music for the first time, I would say, just sit back and enjoy. Let it do for you whatever it's going to do for you. I think
Sure.
that's the sometimes we shut off music, or I shut off music when I'm refusing to allow it to take me to places that it's going to take me inevitably.
Yeah.
And that with this is that um, if it has found you and you're taking the chance to listen to even one song, if you pick the right one, you know what I mean, and that does for you what many songs have done for me and have done what music does for so many other people. And if it's not your cup of tea, that's great. That's cool too. And if it is, then thanks for listening, and I'll keep doing it for connections like this. So yeah,
Beautiful answer and a beautiful conversation. George,
yeah,
I want
man,
to thank you so much for taking the time out of your Sunday to do this. This has been fantastic.
yeah,
And I want to plug your music one more time for everyone who didn't catch the name. It's called Under the Sun Volume 1, which means that 2 and 3 are coming. So
hmm,
follow along and stay tuned and share it around, and
yeah.
enjoy it as a whole.
And then the first album too. So there was one before that
Yes.
called "Good for You." Is another full length album with 10 tracks on it. and that's you can also find. So there's 15 tracks available wherever you can find music online. So
Beautiful,
all right,
man. Dude, thank you so much for your time. We'll definitely be speaking soon, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
thank you, Austin. Have a good one, man.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.
All right, see ya.